On the first day of 2019, I'd like to share the experience of my journey in the world of computing. I started playing with computer at a pretty early age. I used to handle both Linux and Windows machines. After I got a bit familiar with the keyboard, I was given few softwares to play around, namely TextPaint and Tux Typing. Then one day, I started learning Logo. It was not that big deal. When I became 6 years old, I started my formal journey into the world of programming. I started with code.org. After I finishing the initial stage, I became familiar with concepts like repeat, etc. And towards the end of 2017, my daddy asked me to start programming on Scratch. I developed some interesting games and animations using Scratch. I started with Java when I became 7 years old. Then I started to solve small algorithms in Java like add, subtract, etc. Then I started with some syntax like for loop, if else, etc. And then I started with Java method. I learned about Java method signature. When I was clear with methods signature, I started with a program called calculator. So in calculator we have done some thing that we have done, that string sign int x int y. In the initial place int result is equal to 0, then if sign dot equals add result x plus y, then sub and then etc. and mul and div, and then return. We are returning the result whatever it's given. So after this we started with switch case. We did a project called Days of the Week. In Days of the Week, there is we are making case 0 day Sunday break. Break means that we are pausing the whatever is running in this whole area. After that, day Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday and Thursday and Friday, a lot of that. Then we started with a project called Array Linear Search, which is to find whether a number is there in an array or not. So in here, this is the method's name, is the number there, then this is the return type, and this is all the parameters. In an array there is something called length, where the length of an array, there is some, we can find out how many numbers are there in an array using a length. So length, we are finding a length out here. So now then we solved a lot of array problems like finding the lowest number in an array. So we are finding the lowest number in an array using there is a length. You know that there has to be a length in an array. So we are doing I is equal to int I is equal to 0, I less than length, because it has to be I less than length. So then the I plus plus. So because the number will increase on. Okay, so now finding the biggest number in an array, etc. Then I started learning the object-oriented side of Java. In the object-oriented side of Java, there is something. I started to write a class in Java. I started learning about attribute. This is the attribute. This is the attribute, and the attribute should start with private, and then is the constructor, then is the method to increase all the rotation per minute or the private attributes, and there are getter setter to access them, such as set rotation per minute, set diameter, get number of spokes, all of them. Okay, so now to access the private attributes, then I started with overloaded constructor and method. After that, I started with inheritance. I learned about hazard and iser. So hazard means belonging to the class. Then is iser. Iser is in this. Iser means extend. So extending, doctor extends employee, because in the employee class the doctor is extend. There is a platform where we can visualize all the classes and their relationships. This platform is UML, and it stands for Unified Modeling Language. As we are talking about inheritance, we started a project called employee. We are talking about it now only. So now we are starting with something called abstract class and final class. Happy New Year to everyone.